Ivory Coast had 52% of the ball. They had 14 shots. They had 14 corner kicks. They were the better team for the better part of 90 minutes. And Norway still beat them 2-1. With Haaland on the pitch, it doesn't matter who controls the game. It only matters who finishes it. Here's the thing about Haaland that most people miss. They expect him to be everywhere. They expect him to dominate possession stats, win headers every 3 minutes, and physically bulldoze his way through a game. When that doesn't happen, the easy take is that he had a quiet match, that he was anonymous, that the defensive plan worked. Against Ivory Coast on June 30th, Norway were outpossessed, outshot, and outcornered for most of the 90 minutes. By the numbers, Ivory Coast were the superior team on the night, and yet Norway walked away with a 2-1 win. So the question isn't how Ivory Coast lost. The question is how Norway won a game they probably had no right to win, and what that tells us about the most dangerous striker in this tournament when the pressure is highest. Look at the shot numbers first. Ivory Coast took 14 shots, Norway took 9. Ivory Coast had 5 shots on target. Norway had 3, and 2 of them ended up in the net. That is a 66% conversion rate from shots on target in a World Cup knockout game against a side that was the better team across large stretches of the match. That kind of clinical efficiency isn't luck. It's what separates elite strikers from good ones. Good strikers need volume. They need 10 chances to score 3 goals. Elite strikers need 3 chances to score 2 goals. And that is precisely the type of striker Haaland is built to be. Norway scored first at the 39th minute. They went into halftime with the lead, despite Ivory Coast controlling the tempo. Ivory Coast had 14 corners across the full game, 14 set-piece opportunities to score, and Norway's defense absorbed it all. Then, at 74 minutes, Ivory Coast finally equalized. For 12 minutes, this game looked like it was heading to extra time. Then Norway scored again at 86, 4 minutes from the final whistle. That is the Haaland effect. It's not about domination, it's about the one moment that decides everything. Let's compare this to what happened on the same night in another game. France beat Sweden 3-0. France had 25 shots. They overwhelmed Sweden through sheer volume and relentless pressure. That is one model of winning. Norway's model is the opposite. They absorbed Ivory Coast's pressure, stayed compact, defended their penalty area, and waited. Martin Odegaard was pulling strings in midfield, but Norway's strategy was never about dominating the ball. It was about defending as a unit and finishing with precision when the moment arrived. This is actually a more dangerous model in a tournament format. Here's why. In a World Cup knockout, you play one game and then you rest. Every round is a fresh start. A team that relies on volume attacking, 25 shots, relentless pressing, is burning energy at a higher rate. A team that wins on clinical efficiency preserves more. Norway's legs were fresher at 86 minutes than Ivory Coast's attacking approach. And in the last 10 minutes of a tight game, fresher legs win. Haaland, Odegaard, Sorloth. This is a Norway side with genuine quality at the top end. They don't need to dominate. They just need one opening at the right time. Now here's what nobody is talking about. Ivory Coast had 14 corner kicks. In the average World Cup match, a team wins between 3 and 5 corners. Ivory Coast had nearly 3 times that. They were camped inside Norway's defensive third for huge stretches of this match. From open play at 74 minutes, that's Ivory Coast failing to convert dominance into goals. The narrative after this match is about Norway's resilience and Haaland's clinical instinct, but the actual warning sign belongs to every team that thinks controlling a game equals winning it. Ivory Coast proved tonight that you can boss possession, create more chances, earn more set pieces, and still lose because you didn't take care of business when the ball was in the box. In a tournament this condensed, one lapse in concentration at 86 minutes doesn't give you a chance to recover. It sends you home. Norway are dangerous, not because they're the most technically gifted team in this tournament, not because they'll outplay you in midfield or press you into submission. They're dangerous because of what they do with the few moments they get. And as long as Haaland is on that pitch, every team in the remaining rounds has to respect that a single chance at any point in a match can end their tournament. Ivory Coast learned that the hard way at 86 minutes. Someone else will learn the same lesson soon. Norway aren't just in the next round. They're a genuine threat to every side that underestimates how lethal a team can be with the ball only 48% of the time. Drop your prediction in the comments. Can anyone actually stop Haaland before the final? I want to see who you think has the defensive setup to handle him. Subscribe so you're here when we break down that match the moment it happens.